Bitcoin broke its trend line to the upside, turning that previous support trend into a resistance trend. Right now, we find Bitcoin also hitting some major areas of resistance. In today's video, we're going to be jumping down into the 1 hour, 1 day, and 1 week timeframes, taking a look at the technical analysis on Bitcoin, giving my thoughts and opinions on where I think Bitcoin is heading. As I get into the video, you know what to do. Smash that like button if you're new, subscribe. Let's roll that intro and get right down into it. Okay guys, so here we have Bitcoin paired up with USDT. We're on the 1 hour Binance chart here. And as you can kind of see, we drew this trend line on yesterday. We broke this and we find this now as upper area of resistance. We also had a new lower low over the last couple of days here, but not breaking lower than the 41,400 that you can see here with this white line. Ultimately, we are finding ourselves with some resistance on this 1 hour time frame. Let me just make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see. As we can come up against this 200 EMA. The 200 EMA is currently sat at $42,300 with the 50 EMA, that's the red line, coming in at $42,345. The yellow line is our 50 SMA, that's currently $42,555. And as you can kind of see here, we have the red line and the yellow line, the shorter moving averages, looking to come down lower than the 200 EMA, which is your longer term average. Essentially, that would be deemed very bearish, with what they would call a death cross on this 1 hour time frame. It's short moving averages, short average price action going down lower than the longer term price action. Essentially, it would be deemed bearish movements. So not only have we broken our trend line and found that our trend line is now resistance, we also find ourselves hitting these upper areas of resistance with the 200 EMA, the 50 EMA, the 50 SMA, with that death cross looming probably only a day or so away. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Bitcoin kind of reacts next. Now, as you can also see, our smart money concepts structure is still in a bearish structure. It hasn't changed. Ultimately, we haven't got a change of characterization to take us from this bearish state of play into a bullish state of play. That has not happened yet. And we can also note that there is no break of structure either yet to indicate that we are going to be seeing a confirmation of this bearish pattern. That's going to happen when we cross down lower than our swing lows that you see down here. I'll tag that on there at $40,400. Okay, that's going to be the key area for us to see us with essentially with a break of structure to confirm our bearish pattern. For now, we are where we are. It's quite an interesting pattern. We've moved up, of course, a little ways here, and this movement to the upside obviously failed to kind of reach any kind of impulsion, and we broke all the way back down again. This is pretty common within a structure that we see. Now, we might rally back up a little bit further. It is still possible to do this. However, I think for the most part, it's unlikely, unless, of course, we can rally up higher than the 200 EMA, the 50 EMA, the 50 SMA, and get back above the trend line. I expect us to basically push on down. Hitting these areas of resistance around the 200 EMA right now, whilst the stochastic RSI is as high as it is going to be an indication for us to move on down quite a bit. So we're going to be trading or taking a look at this as potential short. If I were to trade it, I obviously would be trading using BitGet, which is my go-to platform for leverage-based trading. I would be putting my stop loss here above that 50 EMA, maybe even to kind of give it a little bit more confidence in the trade, or to give it a little bit more room to breathe. I'll be looking at that swing high around $43,000, and then I'll be looking to bring this down towards our previous lows down at the $40,500. This is a good risk reward ratio if I were inclined to trade it from here. Ultimately, I'm already in a short position and I've been in it for a while, and I'm looking to trade this on a more daily, weekly time frame than I am on an hourly time frame. But for now, we can see that the hourly chart here is looking interesting. Take the stochastic RSIs off, throw on the divergence indicator. We did see bullish divergence yesterday. This comes in right down here on this low point. We saw this come right back up to our trend line and our resistances. Again, bullish divergence is being onto hidden bullish divergence as well, also working out quite well for us at the moment, and specifically when we saw these bearish flags as well. on the hourly chart, looking pretty good at the moment. So I expect us to kind of move back down maybe towards equilibrium, see if we can get a new local low here on this 1 hour time frame. That's going to be my expectations today. But again, with volume trading being lower over the weekend, we'll see whether or not we just actually kind of just trade sideways and get stuck into a range like we typically do on a Saturday. Let's take this up into our daily time frame. Our daily time frame found us with this range here between 42,401 and 44,146, which is our targeted range for a retracement back to the upside after we moved down. Ultimately, we came into this area and have been rejected from it as kind of expected, but I still think it's possible for us to push up into those slightly higher ranges. Although I do not expect us to push up higher than $44,700. I think $44,700 is likely to be an area that is going to hold. So we'll keep a close eye on that. And like I say, if we are to trade this on a daily time frame and we want to kind of put ourselves into short positions, then, we are going to potentially, make sure that our stop loss is going to be above that area. And again, I still think we have the ability to come in here at a little bit of a better entry than right now, in my personal opinion. Ultimately, we can see here that the 50 EMA and the 50 SMA coming in at the 38,293 for the EMA and 38,217 for the SMA. So the SMA is your yellow line and the EMA is your red line. Our 200 EMA is all the way down here though, coming in at 31,865. So from a kind of more traditional way of looking at the charts, actually the daily time frame is really well positioned. You've got price action quite significantly higher than that of the 50 SMA, the 50 EMA, and significantly higher than that of the 200 EMA. This means that from a traditional way of looking at the charts and the price action, you'd say that you're still in a bullish upward trend. We can also see here that smart money concepts is also still in a bullish trend, so that's not a concern. And for the most part, I think on the daily time frame, we're still expecting a little bit more to the upside. But I think we're on the cusp of a reversal in the market, and we're going to start seeing retracements to the downside. When we take a look at this, in terms of where we could potentially be heading here, we do have a couple of fair value gaps that were created. So the first one of interest is going to be 35,735 to 37,650. That's going to be this area just here below the 50 EMA and the 50 SMA. Below there, we do have the equilibrium, and then just below equilibrium, we have another fair value gap. This one coming in at $30,248 to $32,832. Ultimately, we find ourselves in some pretty interesting spots here. Now, that second fair value gap is where the 200 EMA sits at the moment. So if we were to see a major retracement and we were to lose some of these previous areas of support, then we're going to be heading down into those lower ranges, in my opinion, and right down towards that 200 EMA and $30,000. 31,000 is a really interesting area, specifically as we bring this up to our weekly time frame. Obviously, we have our parallel channel. We're testing the higher ranges of that channel. We got rejected and we're starting to move back down. And obviously, we do have our lower end of the parallel channel as well, coinciding really nicely with the 50 EMA and 50 SMA at the moment. There are, of course, 4 areas of interest on this chart. Taking a look at the top one here, if I just zoom in just a fraction, this area of interest really comes in at the $36,262 to $37,717. This area is of interest because it is a previous area of support that hasn't really become resistance. So we broke through it. We kind of broke through it again. We're looking to see whether we can turn this area into a support level for us or not. Underneath there, and the next real big area of interest to me, is previous area of resistance that was broken but never come back down to test. This comes in at 30,330 to 31,818. And this is the real key area for me on my short position. This looks like an area that is likely to be a good level of support, at least on the medium term. It also is an area that looks to coincide with the 50 EMA, the 50 SMA, and potentially an upward turn with that 200 EMA. And also the lower end of the trend line. If we come down here over the next couple of weeks or so, we might find ourselves testing the lower end of the trend line of our parallel channel, which will coincide with our 50 EMA, 50 SMA, and also this area of interest between $30,000 and $31,000. This is a key area for me. Then, of course, if we do come down lower, then the next area of interest outside of that becomes 24,756 to 26,878. Again, another area of consolidation and previous support that was also an area of resistance in the historical price movements of Bitcoin. If this wasn't to hold and we were to lose this area, realistically speaking, and very unfortunate for many retail investors, will be a move down towards 19,569 to 21,789. This is really where I think we have to hold. A failure to hold this area, unfortunately, we'll be looking at testing some of these other low points on the chart. And that would be rather unfortunate, I said, for retail investors, because retail investors are the ones who have been really heavily accumulating during 2022 and 2023. And if you were to come all the way back down here, I think it's going to do a lot of damage to retail investors. But ultimately, not much has changed over the last 24 hours for Bitcoin. We ultimately find ourselves kind of, trying to ascertain whether or not we're going to continue this breakdown, whether we're going to get a little bit more of a resurgence to the upside. The daily charts and the monthly charts haven't, and weekly charts haven't really changed. There's not a lot going on there from those point of views either. And so for the most part, we kind of just sit back, we wait, we be patient, and we wait for the data to give us clearer indications as to what is to come. If you have found this video useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe. And if you haven't joined us in Discord, what are you waiting for? Check it out. Link is in the description down below. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.